Okay, so this is going to be a video about how to properly grease the auger shafts on a Toro PowerMax 7240E. And I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is going to be similar for all the new PowerMax snowblowers, starting, I don't know, around 2010 and up. I'm guessing at that number. But anyway, this is specifically for this one. So Toro, in their infinite wisdom, to probably get more money out of us consumers, did not include grease zerks on their base model. On their base model snowblowers. So how the hell are you supposed to keep the shafts from rusting up and binding, thus, making your shear bolts pointless, right? If your shear bolts break and your augers are rusted to the shafts, then it's just going to destroy your gearbox anyway. So you need to be able to make sure those are running freely. So that's what I'm going to do today. How do you grease the shafts here and here so that those will spin freely if the shear bolts here and here were to break. So this is a relatively simple project that I think anyone with fairly good mechanical know-how and hopefully some common sense will be able to do. If you don't feel comfortable doing this to your new snowblower, just take it to a Toro dealer and have them do it for you. But honestly, it's a very obvious money grab on Toro's part to not make these shafts greasable by you, the owner of this equipment. You should be able to do all the maintenance at home if you're even slightly competent. And normally, all you have to do is hook up a grease gun, give it a couple pumps, and you're done. But this is a great way to give some business to the Toro dealers, if they were to be doing it. So, as you can see, this is all that I'm going to use today to do this. 7/16 and 1/2 inch box wrenches, 3/8, 7/16 and 1/2 inch sockets, and a 3/8 ratchet with an extension bar, and as well some anti-seize, and of course grease. That's the whole reason we're here, is to grease those shafts. Alright, now the first thing you're going to do is put your Toro snowblower up on the front end. So just push up on the handles using your legs, not your back. And it'll hold itself there nice and steady. Next, you're going to remove the black plastic cover here that will expose the inside of the snowblower, which is where we need to work. So there's 4 bolts to remove using your 3/8 socket. So we have 2 bolts here at the top. Mine is missing one here. And then we have number 3 and number 4 over on the other side. So this is what you'll be looking at once you get the black cover off. What we are trying to get at is this hex head bolt right here. So this bolt goes into the shaft that is coming from the impeller blade that flings the snow out of the chute. That is attached to this wheel, which attaches to the spinning shaft coming out of the engine. And when you press the lever, it engages this belt with that spinning pulley up top, and then drives the auger and all that stuff. So to get the whole auger shaft assembly out so we can remove everything just to grease it, we have to undo this bolt, and then the ones on the sides holding those augers on, and then the whole thing will come out. So in order to do that, first we need to undo this spring right here. Okay, so we need the vice grips to just get a handle on that. Keep that out of the way. So we're going to be turning this bolt here with a 1/2-inch box wrench, and we're going to need to keep this whole thing from moving, because as you see, that whole thing moves, and as I'm turning this, of course the augers are spinning. Now, right now, I'm turning the wheel in a counterclockwise motion, as I would be when I'm undoing that bolt, but where that's attached to the shaft, the whole thing would just keep spinning. So we need to stop that from spinning. What I have seen other people do is just shove a piece of wood down the chute. So that's what I'm going to do now. Just using about a 2-foot long piece of 1x3. Jamming it in there. And there. So that's locked into place, and that's not going to move anymore. Next, we want to remove the belt from the pulley. So just pull it off like that. Make sure you don't get greasy fingers all over that, because it's friction, so you don't want to introduce any lubrication there. So now we can grab our 1/2-inch wrench and start undoing that bolt. I've had this apart. I've had this apart once before, just to see if this was even possible. And this bolt has blue Loctite on it, so you're probably going to want to use a bit of force at first to get it open. But I just have it loosely in here now for demonstration purposes. Make sure you really tighten this up. But it'll tighten itself when it's spinning, seeing as it's... Alright, so we have our bolt out. Now we can lift off this plate, or the pulley rather, and set it aside. And this is what you're left with. That triangular piece there is what connects to the end of the shaft. This will be very, very hard to take off if you've already been using your snowblower for a season or something like that. I imagine they might even use a bit of Loctite in there as well. Yes. What I did to get this out the first time was I undid the bearings that I'll show you in a minute on the side of the snowblower, those two black bolts there, 1/2-inch head again. I undid those, made sure everything was free. I put my feet on the front and I just gave it a good yank. It's also pretty cold out here in my garage. I had done some snowblowing yesterday, and it could have just had some ice in there as well. And that's why I couldn't take it off. Now I'm going to attempt to remove it right now by hand. And yeah, okay, so that came off easy because I already did this before. So there's the link to the shaft. There's a flat spot over here. So this washer goes here, and that flat spot corresponds with the flat spot that you can see there. Now we're going to tip the snowblower back down. So we can now remove the side bearings for everything. For that, you're going to need your 1/2 inch socket. So at this point, like I said before, I still had the this piece still connected at the back. I couldn't just pull it off. So what I did, took those bolts out, like I said, I sat in front of it like this. I remove the wood from the chute, which stops it from turning, remember. And then I just put my feet up on here and gave it a nice hard pull. Obviously now it just comes out, but I gave it 1, 2 heave ho and just yanked it out like that. Obviously now it just comes out no problem. So there we have it, the auger assembly. Alright, so now that we have our auger assembly removed from the snowblower, we need to take off the auger blade. So we're going to remove this little bearing here, or bushing, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's a bushing. So we're going to use our 1/2 inch socket again. That just slides right out of there. See that there? That's also something that's going to need grease. And then we're going to switch to the 7/16 socket to remove the shear bolts. Just gonna put that aside. And now I should just slide right off. And there we go. So now we can grease up this shaft. That's what she said. And that'll ensure free movement of this blade should the shear pin come out. So what do I mean by that exactly? Well, you can see now this spins just fine because the shear pin isn't there, and that's what's supposed to happen in the event of the shear pin breaking. If you hit a big rock or, you know, run over a smart car or something like that, and if this gets jammed, the shear pin will break, and then the shaft will just keep spinning here, thus not destroying the gearbox, which would be a really expensive replacement. But if this is rusted solid, then it's just going to destroy your gearbox if you run into something solid that will stop it from... Alright, so now we're going to grease the shaft, and yes, I do realize the comical nature of this shot. Oh well, I can be childish too. So we take a bit of our bearing grease here. I use a lot of this stuff for my motorcycle and all that kind of stuff. Just take a little fingerful of it there. We're gonna alright, so I mean, even coverage is not all that important because we're gonna get it on there and give it a spin now. Always have good quality shop towels handy when you're doing this. And I'll say this again when we go to do it, but I am going to change my gloves before handling the friction belt. So in this case, the side of the auger blade with more sticking out goes in like so. Just kind of okay. And now we'll just put another little bit in our bushing here as well. That's nice and tight. So now we're just going to repeat the same procedure for the other side. Okay, now we're going to put this back in. There is a right way up for this gearbox. The right way up, in this case, is the gearbox oil plug. Should be, when you're looking at it like this, on your right and on top of the auger shafts. So we're just going to grab onto this sucker. You can see where the shaft will go into that hole. There. So now we can install our bolts. Alright, now we can tip it back up on end. But first, we're going to put that piece of 1x3 back inside for when we're tightening up. Okay, so before we put this guy back on to the shaft, I just want to make sure that it's going to be easy to take off the next time. So I'm just going to put a very, very small amount of copper anti-seize here. Now, the order of this is washer, and then our, let's just call this a coupler flat spot. We'll line up the flat spot. That's the only way it goes on. There we go. So now, as I said before, I'm going to change my greasy gloves to a fresh pair so that I don't get that bearing grease on this belt. Okay, so now we can put our pulley back on, and you can see there's one odd shaped hole there, and so that goes in that way. Now I'm going to grab our bolt and washer. At this point, I'm going to put the belt back on. It's not fully tightened up yet, but I just want to get it on there so I don't do something stupid like forget it. cover back on. Oh, I lied. First, we need to replace our spring. All right, so there we have it. You can see the grease there in by the crankcase or whatever you want to call it, and that's it. It's a real pain in the ass. So next year, I'm going to do that whole thing, remove the blades, and just drill and tap and put in some grease zerks. I think that's obviously the easiest thing that would save a heck of a lot of time rather than doing this every single year. So that's what I'm going to do next year. I just don't have the tools available to me at this time, and we're getting 30 centimeters of snow tonight. So I want to make sure this is up and running just fine. So anyway, there you have it. All told, not too terrible of an experience. But like I said in the beginning, if you don't feel comfortable doing this, don't screw up your snowblower, because we buy snowblowers because we need them, not because they're fun toys to play with. Well, they are, but we buy them because we need them to get snow out of our driveways, so we can, drive out of them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful, and see you around throwing some snow.